2018, the U.S. Department of Education began to discuss the federal regulations as it applies to distance learning today. Prior, the regulations were based on correspondence education, and since then, the pedagogy and technology have changed significantly. In order for students to receive federal financial aid, online courses must adhere to the federal regulation updates. Today, I'll share a brief presentation about the changes as we and others have interpreted them. For clarity purposes, we've added icons to each slide to denote whether it is the actual regulation language, an explanation, or examples. It is important to note that these changes support the work our faculty have been doing pedagogically as they develop and facilitate their online classes. Keeping in mind that the new federal regulations around distance education are in response to the older correspondence regulations, there are 5 critical factors that have changed. Faculty must use updated technology. Instructors must meet accreditor requirements. Instructors must use at least 2 forms of substantive interaction. There must be scheduled and predictable opportunities between instructors and students. And when students reach out, instructors must respond in a timely manner. For the first time, the federal regulations mention asynchronous in addition to synchronous as a means to facilitate instructions. The definition also includes regular and substantive interaction, which will be defined in a little bit. As a side note, the terms and phrases that are bolded in any of the federal regulation slides are our emphases, not the US DOE's. As you can see, the technologies have been updated and incorporate robust applications that can be accessed via the internet. What does this mean for us? Faculty are required to use some of the various tools available via the internet and supported on campus. For example, Blackboard, Zoom, and VoiceThread, among others. We have also pulled out the term instructor in the definition because it is the instructor who must engage in the regular and substantive interaction we spoke about earlier. Here we have a definition of instructor as per middle states. Some pieces of the definition from the federal regulations are left undefined, instead pointing us to our accrediting body. Substantive interaction is defined here and must include at least 2 of the following: providing direct instruction, assessing or providing feedback on a student's coursework, providing information or responding to questions about the content of a course or competency, facilitating a group discussion regarding the content of a course or competency, or other instructional activities approved by the institution's or program's accrediting agency. Again, pointing us back to our accrediting agency. The first bullet point on the definition of substantive interaction is direct instruction. And while the federal regulations do not define this specifically, we wanted to share some definitions. Some examples of substantive interaction are synchronous lectures, asynchronous video lectures, feedback and assessments, video or text announcements and instructions, answering questions over email and through discussion boards, or responding in a voice thread or discussion board. And these are just some examples. Regular interaction is defined here. Of note are predictable and scheduled, and providing the opportunity for substantive interaction with the student on a predictable and scheduled basis. Also, monitoring the student's academic engagement, both of which will be addressed. How do we support predictable and scheduled interactions? Timelines and expectations are critical and should be clearly noted in the syllabus and/or in Blackboard. Instructors should meet with students on a weekly basis or provide content weekly on the same day if possible, provide clear due dates, and respond to students in a short but defined period of time when urgent and in a defined time after assignments are due. In the syllabus and in Blackboard, due dates, expectations of response times, how long after an assignment is due students should expect grades feedback, and office hours and contact information should all be stated. CELT has a syllabus template, and all of these pieces are addressed in that template. Second part of regular interaction includes monitoring the student's academic engagement. Academic engagement has been defined in the new federal regulations and includes some examples. attending a synchronous class, lecture, recitation, or field or laboratory activity, physically or online, where there is an opportunity for interaction between the instructor and students, submitting an academic assignment, taking an assessment or an exam, participating in an interactive tutorial, webinar, or other interactive computer-assisted instruction, participating in a study group, group project, or an online discussion that is assigned by the institution, or interacting with an instructor about academic matters. Again, note that this is in accordance with any applicable requirement of our accrediting agency. To provide more clarity, the federal regulations also state the following. Students must be taking classes in addition to living on campus. Of importance for instructors are that their class may not be self-paced without faculty engagement and responses. It must be facilitated. Finally, the federal regulations address academic honesty. Students signing up for the course must be the ones that engage in the course. Much of that is supported through DoIT's appropriate use of information technology policies, which state that students are not allowed to share their login information, they should be creating difficult passwords, and they cannot disguise this in those student. On the class side, if instructors would like to use a remote proctoring tool that requires a webcam or any additional resources, this must be stated upfront during registration. Please contact SELT with any questions.